ladies. Welcome. Happy Saturday. How's everyone doing? We're here, right? Well, welcome back. This is week 4. Welcome everybody who's watching from home. I'm Raquel de Hoyos, and we are continuing with our series called Meal Prep Magic. Today we have a recipe that is sort of Raquel's version of cauliflower masala, which I think you all will enjoy. And continuing on with just, building some really good recipes for your recipe box to do meal prep. This is one that's easy to make, has lots of great flavor, and it holds really well. You can do it for dinner, for lunch. The recipe that we'll make next week actually is a complement to this. I wish I could make them both today, but we don't have enough time. So you'll get that next week, but just imagine that they go well together. So we're going to start by doing this, and then we're going to be talking today about a couple things. Today I wanted to focus on how do you do meal prep when you might have like food restrictions or allergy, food sensitivities, because that's a big thing, right? So we'll talk a little bit about that, and I'll share some great resources that you all can check out. But this is a great example of a plant-based recipe that has ingredients that are fairly allergy friendly. There's some spices in there that help bring some flavor to it. But there's no dairy, there's no gluten, lots of good veggies are in it, and it's pretty pleasing to most palates, so that's why I picked it. I have done variations of this recipe with yogurt that also make it quite delicious because it thickens it up a little bit. The original recipe that I had for this included cashew cream. Has anybody tasted that or worked with that? Yeah, you basically soak raw cashews in liquid, usually water, and then you blend them in a blender like this, and it makes like a cream sauce. So you can use that to thicken up or just use it like a cream. You can add some seasoning, spices to it, but it's really delicious. So today, though, we're going to make it without that just because, again, we were talking about costing. You guys remember what we did last week, costing out the cost of the soup recipe. We want to keep our costs down as well when we're doing meal prepping. So this is a great way to, cashews are kind of pricey. So that's why I left it out, but it's still going to be delicious. So I'll walk you through what we have today. The star of the show is this beautiful cauliflower, and I would say try to find the largest one that you can find. I'm aiming for about 3 pounds, so I actually had 2 that I bought and just took a little bit off the other one. So that's the main star of the show, but we're also going to make a sauce that gives it this beautiful color along with the seasoning that we're using. And I'm going to take these beautiful ripe tomatoes and then the red bell pepper and the coconut milk to help us make that sauce. So you'll get to see kind of step by step how I do that. But the first thing we need to do, we've got some onions, kind of our aromatics, a little bit of garlic. There's going to be cilantro and ginger in there, and this little guy for some heat. I know you guys like spicy, right? You're my spicy gals, okay. But there's also cayenne. So all of our beautiful spices also are going to pack some flavor. We've got garam masala, curry powder, a little bit of coriander, cinnamon, which is kind of the secret spice. They're like, what is that flavor? Cinnamon. And then cayenne. So we've got spice and heat from the jalapeno and the cayenne. And so that's that. So I'm going to walk you through it. Sorry, I've got kind of a lot of equipment today. Last week we got to have fun with the Instapot. Today we're going to use an electric skillet and this cool blender, and away we go. So first thing I'm going to do is just saute up some of our aromatics, right? So we're going to start with the onion and just dice this up, and I'm going to use the whole onion. You could use any kind of onion, really. I just happened to have some white ones sitting around, and I thought, let's do white onion. Did you all make the soup from last week? Yes. Anybody? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a great recipe. You always have to have a good soup recipe on file, right? And then, have you all ever done a recipe like this, like something that's a little more out of kind of standard with different spices and things like that? Yes, a few yeses. What kinds of flavors do you guys enjoy about recipes like this?
I like the cumin, coriander. I like turmeric.
Yes.
Yeah, I like all of this. Garam masala, curry powder.
Yeah, lots of beautiful flavors in it. I wanted to, but I didn't time it right. I can maybe for next week if I get my act together this week. I wanted to give you guys samples of a really beautiful curry powder blend spice that I used to get from a spice store in Seattle called, what is it called? World Spice. They make all different kinds of curry blends because, you know, curry powders blend all sorts of spices. But this one in particular has been one of the favorites that I've enjoyed cooking with, and I will purchase it online and just kind of keep a little stash on hand at home. But it's so aromatic. It has just great flavor anytime, and I'll use it not even just in curries. I'll use it in all sorts of things like marinades for chicken, fish. Yeah, I love to kind of play with spices. Any other go-to favorites? I know, Dorian, you had some great recipes that you were talking about last week. Are there any sort of fun kind of exotic flavors that you like to do when you're doing kind of meals for yourself?
Well, it depends on the day.
Yes, I agree. Depends on how much energy you have, right?
I've done this cazuela de pollo with curry.
Oh, that sounds good.
That is really good, and I like chicken and with all these spices, and then I plated the side dish I use is tostones, which is fried plantain.
Yes,
So it's like, I don't know, it's like a montadito, like a little bit like a bruschetta or something.
Oh,
but like,
okay.
With the Caribbean and Spanish flair.
That sounds delicious.
And I also like to make curry, like salmon curry and also more like exotic, but not in the so spicy. I like making buttered chicken.
Oh yeah, butter chicken is pretty good. So that to me like is kind of like a tikka masala, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's got that nice sauce to it, and just great flavors because of all the spices that are mixed in there.
In Puerto Rico, we use a lot of like coriander, and we use this herb. It's in the family of the coriander, but it's called we call it like culantro. It's like a longer.
Oh yes, It almost looks like the root of cilantro, right? But it's a more like stronger.
It's stronger, but it's a leaf.
But it's a leaf. That's right. Yeah, I've seen that in some places.
We use a lot of that and a lot of garlic.
Yes, that is exactly what I'm doing right here, ladies. Next step. And this is one of my favorites. Like if you can find this type of garlic at H-E-B or wherever you shop that has the beautiful kind of purple striping on it. I don't know. They just have such great like cloves, and we're doing 4 in this recipe. Put as much garlic love in there as you want. You can't go wrong. It's good for the immune system. So, but this is a good recipe for the winter, for the fall. Keep us healthy. But yes, that sounds delicious. Great recipes. I realized one thing that I did forget to bring, but that's okay because I have a nice sharp knife. One of the other things we're going to do is ginger. Also good for the immune system, right? And we need about, what did I say, a tablespoon of minced. So I'll just cut away some of the peel and chop that up really fine. But we're going to mince our garlic first. So I kind of like to, when I'm cooking, sort of get all of my things together. It's kind of like when you guys make stir fry, if you've ever done that, since it all kind of comes together and cooks so quickly, I just kind of do a little bit of prep. This is why I hate to peel garlic. Always sticking to your fingers. I just like to do all my prep and then keep going, right? Put it all in the pot. I'm just going to rough chop this first and then I will mince it. But this garlic is beautiful. What other thing I like to do with this, we used to do this quite a bit when I worked in restaurants, was we would take, it was already peeled garlic, but cloves about this size, and just do like, several pounds of it covered in olive oil and on a slow simmer until you're basically just like browning that garlic so it becomes nice and soft and sweet and tender. And then you would puree it and we would add it to the mashed potatoes. So when you would have delicious garlic mashed potatoes, that's where that flavor came from. Yeah. Oh, it was so good.
With that, like they made the garlic confit and then but instead of butter, so they used it for like toast.
Yes, that would be good too. Yeah, so that's exactly what it is. It's a confit, which means you're cooking, you're kind of slow steeping something in oil usually. I saw somebody do that with like loins of tuna, albacore tuna that were so good, and they put some herbs in there, and yeah. But the garlic, I do it occasionally, and then you can use the oil. Use the leftover oil for anything in your cooking because you've now like infused your oil with the garlic flavor. So. Yeah, that's another great tip. If you want to extend, sometimes I have, like, because I'll be doing these classes and I'll have a bunch of leftover garlic. That's what I tend to do is just, either roast it in the oven or do kind of a confit, blend it up, and then whatever I'm making, scrambled eggs, add a little to that. Oh, it's so good. I haven't had breakfast yet, ladies. Just my coffee. Okay. This is going to be breakfast, yes. Okay. So we've got our garlic minced up, and then I'll do the ginger next. And then the jalapeno. How spicy are we talking today, ladies? Half a jalapeno with the seeds? Or one whole jalapeno, no seeds?
No seeds.
All right. Okay, let me do that one next then, actually. No seeds, whole jalapeno. It's kind of hard sometimes to tell. Sometimes you get one and they're super spicy, right? And you're like, where did that come from? Okay. Thank God I have gloves on.
Jalapeno poppers, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
took out all the seeds out of it.
Okay. Taking out the seeds. And don't forget, we have cayenne too. It's only a quarter teaspoon though. So we'll be all right. We'll be all right. Okay. Just cut the stem off there.
Yes, you do this.
And I'm just gonna kind of mince this also. Little small pieces. Cook that all down. Smells nice and fresh, great colors. That's another thing too. I think we've talked about this before. Like when you're doing your meal prep, isn't it nice to just come home to something that is beautiful? It's like tastes great. It's going to taste great because you made it, right? But has all these beautiful colors. Like I think there is something it's pleasing to the eye. When you go out to dine, like isn't that a thing too? Someone brings the food to your plate or the plate to your table, and you see it and there's a different reaction, right? If you see something and it's all the same color, you're like, oh, okay. But you get more excited when you see all these beautiful colors. Like, if we eat with our eyes, you gotta make things interesting, right? What I'm gonna do right now, too, before I forget and keep chatting, is turn on my skillet. And I'm actually gonna just set this. I'm running out of space here. We're just gonna use canola oil. And actually, you could use any kind of oil in this. I had originally used coconut oil, but again, trying to keep the cost down, right? Because you're only going to use, what did I say in here? 1 tablespoon. And I'm going to eyeball this. So canola oil is a good neutral oil to use for that. I'm going to let that heat up a little bit and add my onions. And then the last thing I need to do is this ginger. So I'm just going to move Mr. Jalapeno out of the way. Good thing I have gloves on. Now, since I did not bring my zesty thing, I'm going to just mince it with my knife, which is okay. And I always like to save these trimmings for my tea. But you know what I'm so excited about is that you can actually have compost bins now. When I was in apartment living, I cooked so much, but I always felt bad. Like if I couldn't save scraps to make broth or, stock, I felt terrible just throwing things into the trash, even though it was food, and because I'm so used to composting. And now I can compost, so that's pretty awesome. Does anybody here compost?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great for the garden.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they give you the free container, I guess, it's not necessarily free, right? The only thing is, like, I've had neighbors when it's left out on the curb and it gets picked up and it's empty. I've seen all sorts of things end up in my compost container, and I'm like, that's not cool. It's not there for you to, not your trash basket. Okay, so I'm gonna just mince this up, but if you had a little fine microplane grater, just grate that. We're using a tablespoon, roughly. This is all gonna kind of simmer and cook down, so it'll all get kind of nicely sauteed together, and I feel the heat coming on here, so I'm going to add my onions. My apologies, ladies. I've got my big blender in the way. We're a little short on space, but we're going to make it work. Just imagine you can see these onions. You'll smell them in a minute. So we're just going to cook that down, lightly saute them, and then I'll add the rest of this. And so really, it's an easy recipe because you just have to saute a few things. I'll cut up my cauliflower just so that we have that ready to go next. And then the sauces, the coconut milk, the cilantro, the red bell pepper, and these tomatoes that are just going to get blitzed in the blender and then added to the pot here. So let me move this over here. And then we're going to do the cauliflower next. Okay. So, like I said, try to find the largest cauliflower you can find. We're aiming for about 3 pounds. And I want to kind of cut the florets about the same size so they all cook around the same time. I just kind of take my knife in there, do something like that. This one's a little big. Also, you know, I kind of like smaller bite-sized pieces when I'm doing this. Nobody wants to be chomping on a big old piece of cauliflower, right? I always kind of hate that, like when I go to parties and people put out the trays of veggies, and you're like, you know, making small talk with people at the party, and then you've got this giant piece of cauliflower or broccoli. It's like, come on, people. It's not just me, right? Okay. So onions are smelling good. In a minute, I'll add the rest of our things that I just chopped up. Okay. Make sure I don't burn our onions. Turn that down. Oh, the skillet is great. Okay. So in go the ginger, jalapeno, garlic. And I'm just going to lightly saute this a little bit. Okay. Make some space here. Awesome. And let's do the rest of this cauliflower. So I just like to kind of remove this green part, right? And then go in to the middle and just separate all the florets. Does anybody have any other tricks they use? Okay. Or you could just buy it already. Yeah, absolutely. That's another thing with meal planning, right? Like, I think we were talking about this one of the weeks where if that's sort of what works for you and your schedule, go for it. Things that are already kind of chopped up, or like you'll even see those containers of onions and things like that, celery that are now chopped up. I mean, I see so many things and I'm like, oh, I can do that. But, you know, I've been doing it. And to me, it doesn't seem like it takes a lot of time. But if you're super busy or you're caregiving, you know, like you're doing other things, find what helps you make this possible in your world. That is the trick, honestly, with meal prep. Sometimes I'm super exhausted, like this weekend or last weekend when I worked a lot. And Sunday's usually the day that I do meal prep. And if I know that I'm going to be doing a lot, then I might do my meal prep and just make one thing. Because I'm like, this week we're just going to have to supplement from the store or something, right? Make sure I have enough snacks and things on hand that we both, my mom and I, like to eat. Because sometimes you just don't have all of the energy to do this. But it does take a little bit of practice to kind of find the rhythm and the routine. And especially if you're cooking for other people in your family, right? Because it's hard to please everybody. Do you guys have any like ideas when you've cooked for your families how you can make meal prep kind of pleasing for everybody? Things that you've done that have been successful, that have worked? Recipes you've made, that kind of...
Don't eat the recipe.
Yeah, 2 recipes that were, that everybody likes. What I'll do is I do like the masala. I do it with tofu also.
That'd be great.
And so yeah, I have a few recipes that are that they love, and so yeah, I just kind of go to that, and then I add some protein, a little bit more protein to it or whatever. But yeah, just having those favorites that work.
Yes. Yeah, kind of having your standards that you know turn out well every time, that everybody seems to enjoy. I know when I used to cook professionally for people, like it was hard because sometimes the family all wanted something different. And that's why they hired me, because the poor mom was like, I don't have this time to be cooking 6 different things for all of these kids and the husband who, you know, didn't like certain things. And Yeah, it's a balance. It's a balance.
And I guess when there's children, it's kind of hard, because it's like you're trying to introduce them to new things.
That's also very true. Yeah.
What is it, meat?
What is, when we were growing up, there were 7 of us plus my parents, so 9, and it was like you had to eat what was served because, there wasn't a lot of budget for food and you just ate what was there. And my mom was so good at like making sure she knew how to stretch things because we were such a big family. But I never was like a child who said, I'm not going to eat that. Or at least she hasn't told me stories like that. But yeah, so I always kind of like, I feel for people who have that where it's been difficult because they have kids or, somebody in the family who just either they have food sensitivities and they really struggle to try to do something like this because they just think it's impossible, but it's not. So that's why we teach classes like this. Okay, so that's nicely sauteed. I'm going to hold off on putting this in just so that we can make the sauce. So my apologies, I got to bring this blender around. But actually what I'm going to do, hold on, playing a little bit of musical bowls here this morning. I want to chop these up just a tad before I throw them in. My tomatoes are hiding from me this morning, rolling around on that plate. Okay, so I'm just going to quarter them just so it's a little easier on my blender, although it's a pretty good blender. I was talking about tools for your kitchen, right? And having kind of the essentials. This one has been one of my favorites, and I actually bought it refurbished. And so sometimes when you want to invest in a good solid piece of equipment that's going to last you forever, that does a million things, they're really expensive, right? But I found at an outlet mall, a kitchen store that sold refurbished Vitamix for like $200. And I've had this thing for over 15 years. Watch it crap out on me right now. No, just kidding. I've had it for a long time, and it's a real workhorse, and that has to be the standard of anything that makes it into my kitchen. Like, it has to really do its job well. But yeah, that's a really good price that I couldn't pass up, and it was basically brand new for me. So I think, a lot of times people shy away from doing stuff because they don't have the right equipment, or they think, oh, I need to get this and it's so expensive. No, just kind of keep your eyes out for things. The other thing that I've seen that's really cool is, I've never been to one, but it's like the Le Creuset brand. They do, I guess, I don't know if they're discount sales, and you can go and buy like their stuff at maybe half the cost, which is pretty cool because their stuff is really expensive, but it's really nice quality and it'll last you for a long time if you're in the market for like cast iron cooking utensils. Okay, we're going to add in our coconut milk, whole can. I think the original recipe just called for like 3/4 cup, but I'm like, you're almost there, sister. Just pour the whole thing in. Like, what are you going to do with that, right? Then you have to figure out what to do with it. So it's like, let's not mess with that. That's another thing. When you're doing recipes, like, I hate it when they say, oh, you just need a little bit of the, like, no, come on, let's just use the whole thing. Unless it's really going to affect, like, the flavor, right? So it's about half a bunch of cilantro. And then I'm going to blend that up. Okay, sorry, guys. Protect your ears for a minute. Pretty good. I would say even if there's a few little chunks of tomato in there, that's okay. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And it smells great too. Okay, so that's gonna go, I'm gonna move this, play some musical bowls again. And then one thing I want to do, I'm gonna turn this heat up a little bit again, is I like to kind of cook some of the spices before I add everything. So I'm gonna add all of this. So we have, it is 1 teaspoon of garam masala. And then we have, what's the next one? Curry powder, also 1 teaspoon. Easy to remember, right? 1 teaspoon of ground coriander, and then half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and that 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne. And then also half a teaspoon of salt, and I'm gonna eyeball that as well. I forgot my measuring spoons. I'll taste it at the end just to make sure. I don't know why I put black pepper on here. There is not any in this recipe. I just happen to have it in my kit. Okay, so I'm going to give this a little stir just to kind of toast some of these spices. But if you guys can smell that now, you thought the onion smell was great. Smell this. This is delicious. Okay.
Are the onions still in there?
Yep, onions are still in there. Oh, does somebody not like onions?
No.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't sure if I missed you taking that as a
Oh, sorry. No, we're going to keep that all in there. So it all just gets sauteed together. So the onions are in there, the jalapeno, the finely minced garlic and ginger. And now I just added all the spices just to kind of lightly toast them through, right? Just until you smell them. And then we're going to add this delicious sauce. Look at that. Beautiful. Okay. Give that a nice mix. And then we're going to add in all of our cauliflower, put the lid on, and basically just let it simmer until that cauliflower is cooked through. So we can talk about our educational component while that's cooking. And then I often will also just take the lid off the last couple of minutes just to let the sauce thicken, but it's pretty thick right now. So I just want to make sure all this cauliflower gets coated in this beautiful sauce. And I'll put the lid on, and then away we will go to have our conversation, and hopefully by the time we're done, this will also be done. Okay. Now you guys can see me. Okay, so put the lid on. I'm gonna turn this up.
So the garam masala.
Mm-hmm.
Can you buy that in the whole, Central Market,
Yeah,
whatever?
yeah, Central Market actually.
You just need that much and you don't have to have that container for
Yes,
3 years from now.
exactly. That's actually what I did, although I do tend to cook a lot with these spices. But I did go to Central Market and I just bought the little baggie. I don't even know how much it was. It was like $1 for a little pack. That was about half the bag full. So
I
yeah.
did notice, H-E-B doing, I don't know which H-E-B it was, but they're getting things from the bulk foods. And
Yeah.
putting up already the spices and putting them at the end of the spices. I'm like, okay, because normally you wouldn't say, oh, I'm not gonna spend $3 or, $25 a pound.
Yes,
You know.
exactly, right? Yeah.
That's a great idea,
That
to try
is.
different things and.
Yeah, it's more, people are more likely to try something if they don't have to commit to the whole thing, right? Unless they know it's something that's kind of a staple in their pantry. And I wholeheartedly support that because, again, when it comes to something like this, you want to save and maximize your dollars. And everything is so expensive right now. So, yeah, that's a great way to do it. Central Market, the day that I was buying the spices a couple weeks ago, was having like 15% off. And I was like, awesome. It's like my birthday. Like there was such great, like I got all sorts of stuff that day. Cause for me, that's like being a kid in the candy store, like all the beautiful spices, things that I, haven't even heard of. And yeah, I go a little crazy in there. So, okay. Well, while that is doing its thing, we are going to move on to a couple other things to talk about. So I wanted to start with just kind of what are the common allergies or sensitivities that people have? Like, what are the ingredients? And so if you see here on the left, these are kind of the most common food allergies or sensitivities. It's your milk, your eggs, your nuts, your wheat, and soy. There's a great little factoid there right below. So did you know there's 33 million Americans who have food allergies? That's significant, right? 1 in 10 are adults. 1 in 13 are children. I thought that fact was pretty low because it seems like children are allergic to so many things. And that number would be higher. But anyway, so fortunately, though, for people with food restrictions, we have come a long way in creating products and substitutions. When I don't know if I told you all the story of, I was telling it recently to a coworker, how I got into sort of this whole food as medicine, teaching people how to cook healthy was because I myself had to follow that advice about 20 some years ago. I'm going to be dating myself, but I got really sick after I took a trip with some students through college. I was in my junior year in college and I went to Honduras and had this wonderful experience. And I think we all got food poisoning because several of us got sick on the trip. And, we went through the whole thing of getting tested for parasites and whatnot. But I spent probably the next 10 years dealing with issues around my diet. And the person I was living with at the time was a really good cook. And he said, well, let's try to eliminate things from your diet and start with food. And that changed my world, and being able to like help myself heal, because I was doing all this stuff like getting checked out by doctors and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I couldn't keep food down. I like everything was sensitive. And after all of that, like years later, I kind of determined like basically your system is so smart and but also so susceptible that when you get something that kind of throws it off balance, it gets super like just inflamed and angry, and it takes a while to heal. And that's pretty much what happened to me until I determined like what things my gut was happy with. And I was also like in my early 20s, a time when you're still kind of like your gut microbiome is pretty healthy, but still, you know, could be exposed to some things. And so it was just kind of a vulnerable time for my gut. And that set the course though. I mean, I love what I do now for my life and my career, but that's kind of where I started because of my own challenges. So I have a special affinity for people who often come up to me and say, I can't eat this or I have this, because I've been there. And it's taken me decades to discover like how do I make food work for me so I still enjoy it, so I still get the nourishment that I need from it. And it's not an easy thing because our systems are also unique, right? And so I think that's also when I talk about like you have to know what works for your body and really be in tune with it. I think a lot of people and a lot of kids too are not like taught that. But if you are good about just kind of paying attention to your body, then knowing what to give it when it comes to food is helpful. So I'm so happy that like there are so many things on the market, and it doesn't matter what part of the country you're in now, like there's usually going to be some standards. So when it comes to milk, we have amazing options for non-dairy, right? I've been able to drink milk now, but I couldn't 20 years ago. And so now we've got soy milk, almond milk, coconut milk. For many years, I drank almond milk. And then I switched to coconut almond milk, which was my favorite. And then I couldn't find it as much anymore. So now I drink oat milk, which I love because I feel like actually some oat milk, and I've used it in some of the recipes, has the same kind of texture as milk. And that's kind of what I missed. And so and it kind of performs the same as milk, you know, when you're cooking with it. So that's always nice. I've seen some really crazy ones out there like hemp seed, macadamia nut. I think there's even hazelnut milks. Have you guys seen some of those? Yeah. Anybody cook with any of those? Not yet. I've cooked with macadamia milk, and that's pretty good too. It's like oat milk. But yeah, so lots of alternatives on the market now when it comes to milk. For eggs, there's some interesting ones there as well. And sometimes that's like more for baking, but there's flaxseed, which you can take like ground flaxseed and soak it with water, and it basically like absorbs that and becomes like a nice paste that kind of works like eggs. Aquafaba, do you guys know what that is? It's a cool name. It's basically the liquid that your chickpeas from canned chickpeas sit in. I don't know who came up with that, but clearly that's the cool name. So just remember though, if your chickpeas have sodium, right, that the aquafaba is also going to be a little salty. But I have used it, and you can whip it up like egg whites and use that in baking, and it works really well. Bananas and applesauce are kind of the OG, right? Like people have grown up making recipes and adding that for moisture. Not so much for volume, I would say. But definitely to add some moisture to your baking. And then, so now they also make, I think it's Bob's Red Mill, that does like an egg replacer or a substitute. I've used that a couple of times. I can't remember what exactly is in that. It might be a chickpea something base. I'll have to look that up for you guys. But there is, you can actually buy a powder, and it's already a like egg substitute thing that you can use.
There's one that's it's kind of liquid and it has soy.
Yes.
It comes in a bottle.
Uh-huh.
Like in a yellow bottle.
I think I've seen that one too. Yeah. Yeah. So see there, I mean, there are so many different options now. It's pretty awesome. Let's see, when it comes to nuts, That's kind of a tricky one, right? Like that's common for a lot of children. We have to be very careful. So all these schools that are like nut-free zones. But if you want the same kind of texture, or if you're into like butters, like missing your peanut butter, now we have sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds that can be great alternatives. And both of those, I've seen like sunflower butter that works pretty well. It has kind of a funky smell, but when you use it in cooking, it actually performs really well too. And tahini, which is ground sesame paste, right? Although sometimes people have an allergy to sesame. So if that's an issue, don't use tahini. I had a good friend who couldn't have sesame seeds, and she was part Iranian, and you know, like Persian background uses a lot of that cuisine uses that, and she was so sad because she could not eat that. So she always had to do alternatives for that. Wheat, that is a huge one. And so now, you know, you can find any kind of flour on the market. You can find like the brands, what is it? Bob's Red Mill is one of them. There's a couple other brands. I'm thinking of, what is it? It's King something flour. King Arthur, thank you. God, my brain. But there are all sorts of brands that already have kind of like the good combination of flours to use as a gluten-free alternative. I've baked a lot with almond flour. I've made my own oat flour just by grinding up gluten-free oats. That's pretty simple. Rice flour is another one. And we'll talk about a couple of resources in a minute if you're into like, if you need gluten-free, some recipes, where to get recipes from. And then soy is one of the other ones. So there's something out there called coconut aminos. I've used that. Has anybody? Yeah. How do you like it?
I like it good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's got kind of the color. There's also tamari, which is kind of my favorite because that almost is identical to me for like soy sauce. And you can get it in all different, like low sodium, regular. Yeah. Are you going to say something?
It's just a little, to me, my taste is a little bit saltier than soy sauce.
Which one?
The tamari.
Oh, the tamari. Oh, okay.
The coconut, I mean, they're like sweeter.
Yeah, that's what I feel like with the, and I feel like it's a little bit like lighter, like not, I like the kind of the, almost like, you think about molasses and kind of the color and the, yeah, it's not quite that like thick, but it's sort of like coconut aminos, tamari, molasses, soy sauce molasses, kind of in color and texture. Tamari, some other alternatives, pea protein and brown rice protein, like I guess if you're going to do protein powders. If you can't do soy-based ones, because there's a lot of them that are soy-based, but you can do pea protein, which is pretty big, and then brown rice protein. Okay, does anybody here have any like food allergies or dietary restrictions? Okay, which ones are yours?
What do I say? Milk, eggs, shrimp, peanuts.
Oh, shellfish, okay.
And I do have allergic reactions to some other nuts, and sometimes it's kind of like a hit or miss, like with soy.
Ah, okay. So yeah, you've got pretty much the whole list here. I mean, and so have you found, like, because you do like to cook, like, have you found it to be challenging for you, or have you just figured out ways around it?
Yeah, sometimes it's like I just want to give up and not eat anything. Just
Like, what can I eat? Yeah.
Sometimes like what can I eat? But sometimes if I want to eat something and I'm craving it, I just take a Benadryl or something, and because
Like pay the price later. Yeah, same.
my food allergies, most of them are like stomach related. So
Okay.
but like yeah, with shellfish, like when I go home, there's this type of crab that it's called land crab, and they make these fritters with it.
Oh.
So when I go home and we plan to go to a specific place that they make it, I just take two Benadryls.
You're like, but it's so worth it.
It is.
Sometimes we sacrifice. I know.
And
Pick your battles.
My sister tells me like sometimes she tells me like, do you even taste it? Because like we're out of it. In my mind, I do maybe. And then when I woke up, so
That's great.
But I just enjoy it at the time.
That is great.
With nuggets, it's difficult. Sometimes, like I just gave up on ice cream. I don't eat like ice
Oh.
cream anymore because when the ones that are like healthier, they have dairy, and then the ones that don't have dairy, they have a lot of sugar and like look, because I'm also diabetic, so I'm just like you know what, this doesn't even work.
That's true.
Unless
That's
I'm
true.
really craving it, so I'm like, and then I'm like dying.
Yeah. Some you got to kind of draw the line. You're like, how terrible am I going to feel? I always had a friend who would say, and we kind of joke, this is our inside joke about like, I'll eat something and I know in my past, like it's not always landed well with me, but I'll be like, I don't know what I did differently. It's like, well, dummy, you ate something you know you can't eat, and you just, it's like, of course something's going to happen to you. But because like I've been on a track of like, lately, everything's been great. But there's that one chance that that thing that affected me 10 years ago, I'll eat it, and it'll be like, no, you still can't eat that.
Well, it's just like
Yeah.
my oldest, she's lactose intolerant. So my son really not that much. And I said, yeah, grew up. He says, yeah, we found out later on. He's like, yeah, I'm lactose intolerant. So
Yeah.
that's it. But even then, like if I do make something that's spicy, or she goes, okay, let me take medication so that, you know, for the heartburns and all that, 'cause I'm gonna be
Oh,
suffering.
yeah. Taking preventative measures. Yeah, I've done that.
Preventative
I've done that. My mom does that quite a bit too.
So,
Because
so one
yeah.
of the things is that I didn't.
I have noticed also as we get older that some of those allergies will just stop. So I think, especially with women, as it's also related to like our hormones, our whole body is changing, right? So things that you maybe couldn't tolerate today, it can change, because that happened a lot for me, and I was really surprised and happy about it because I could introduce things into my diet that I had missed, like cheese. Which I really missed. That was a big one for me, was cheese, because I loved all different kinds, and now I can eat it. And I really don't eat a lot of it now, but when I want to, I can, and it's nice to know that I can. Yeah, my brother was visiting recently, and he's like, "You can eat cheese?" Because for years it was like, "No, don't give Raquel any cheese; she can't do it." But yeah, as I've gotten older, my body has changed, and fun ways, not so great ways, but yeah.
And also with the medications they put you on after breast cancer.
That is a great point as well. Medications can definitely affect how your body is able to digest and absorb things too. So yeah, be definitely aware of that. Okay, so I think we got through all of our list. What I wanted to show you was some cool stuff though. Fear not, not all hope is lost. There's some great resources, and so I wanted to share some of that with you too. And let me put on my glasses, because also as we age, we can't see so well. So one of the sites that I came across is this one called Nourishing Meals. They're great. We were talking a while back about like subscription-based meal planner sites. This is one specifically for like people who have different kinds of food restrictions. So they support like 70 different types of diets and have great recipes for that. So that might be a great place to start. And their subscription stuff isn't that expensive, but here's something you could consider doing. You could just buy like a monthly plan for, I think it's like $14. Look at all the recipes while you're in there, and then just download the ones that you like. And that way you've got access, right? I mean, there's no harm in doing that. You've supported the person who's done all the time and the research, and you've been able to get some resources for yourself. So I know sometimes people are hesitant because they're like, they see this word subscription and you're like, can't do it, can't afford it, and that's cool too. But that's another way you can get some access to some good content. This particular person has done some really wonderful stuff around just not just the recipes, but just great resource. I think there's a blog that she puts out, yeah, and you can get free recipes off of the blog that's on this site, but also some great nutrition content when it comes to like working with how do you cook for food sensitivities or food allergies, dietary restrictions and whatnot. The other one, this one is fantastic. I love this one, and I had forgotten how cool it was. But it's FAIR, which is the Food Allergy and Research Education nonprofit, and their website, foodallergy.org. They are kind of the go-to for anything food allergy. They have wonderful content, free recipes you can download. They have some cool cooking videos on there. But one thing I wanted to point out to you is they have from what I could tell, this it's called Fair Training Food Allergy Academy, and they do basically like courses in if you're cooking for yourself or you're cooking professionally, but they're free training courses on how to do that and kind of a nice variety of that. So if you're ever kind of curious or you want to just get some more information, check them out for sure. They're a great resource. They have tons of stuff on their site. I kind of went down the rabbit hole, but this is sort of what I gleaned for us today. I could spend a lot of time on that site. And then at the bottom, so I want to share, I feel like I'm getting old. So these are a lot of great go-to sites that I have referred to over the years, and some are actually really good friends of mine that have, started with blogs and they've developed cookbooks and things like that, which is really awesome. So when it comes to gluten-free, there are so many out there. I used to bake and do that professionally, and so it's hard when you get into baking, especially with substitutes, because that the way that works is so different. But my good friend, Arango Yoga, she's the one I was telling a few folks. She's from Spain. She now lives in Seattle, but she is kind of the quintessential person for baking when it comes gluten-free. She does wonderful stuff. You can check out her website. She has classes that you can take virtually. She now does some cool recipes on her Instagram. She's working with the America's Test Kitchen people. She's got some great cookbooks out. She has a new one coming out, I believe, next month. So her family owned a bakery, and so she spent, her formative years growing up in that, doing that, and then developed celiac disease, and so did one of her children. I think it's her son, and had to just totally change her way of living because of that. And so that set the path for her to become this fabulous food photographer, but also she's the gluten-free lady. And she has fantastic, just super creative recipes, and makes her own flour mixes and all of that. She's wonderful. Another one, there's two others there in the middle, the Loopy Whisk, and then this one, the gluten-free Austrian. She's also a pastry chef. I can't remember if the Loopy Whisk girl is or not, but these are great, good, reliable, recipe sites for gluten-free. I think Loopy Whisk does a bunch of allergy-free, not just gluten-free, but I've kind of referred to them in the past too, because they've got delicious, you see their stuff and you're like, there's no way that's gluten-free. Because if you all remember in the early days, in the early days of gluten-free, you could buy things and they were just kind of dry and crumbly, right? Not what you think of when you think of something pastry or whatever. We have come a long way, and these gals have done a wonderful job just really experimenting and making things look like they're not even, and taste like the texture is amazing. When I did baking, I did a lot of gluten-free, dairy-free muffins, and there is a sweet spot in developing that so that you still get the same flavor and the moisture and the volume. That was kind of the tricky challenge for me, is getting the volume of things right. But these gals are great resources. And then on the bottom left, this is a good friend of mine from California. Cooking on the Weekends is the site. She also had some issues with gluten, but she does some great, just wonderful recipes all around. But she has some great ones that are tested, reliable. She also was a chef for many years, had her own catering company. And so I always like to support her because she was one of the unfortunate folks who lost her home during those fires. So I always kind of try to send people her way as well. And she has wonderful recipes. So if you're just even looking for a regular recipe, check her out. And then on the right here, some of my other favorites. So Dora's Table, this is actually another gal that I met. And she used to be in California, and now she lives actually here in San Antonio. She does great all vegan kind of Mexican fare. She has a book out now as well. But her website is fantastic. And she, here in San Antonio, we love this. She's in the right city. It's fantastic. I'm so happy she moved here. But all of her stuff is incredible. So if you're into tamales, she has actually a whole cookbook, I think, on vegan tamales. She does this delicious, it's a tofu based chorizo But she uses all these nice dried spices like the chilies and all of that, and the flavoring is fantastic. Like she has recipes that are just, you would think they're the regular traditional Mexican recipes, but they're vegan. And she's also got a culinary background, so she's managed to kind of pull that expertise and make some really fabulous stuff. So check out Dora's Table. And then Minimalist Baker, she does a lot of allergy-free stuff too, and just has a beautiful site, lots of great content, lots of wonderful recipes. I've followed her for years as well. She's been around. Like a lot of these folks have been around for a while. They've been doing some good, consistent, reliable stuff, and that's part of the trouble too. Like when you want to get inspiration for recipes, you're like, you go to a site, you Google the whatever ingredient, and you get a whole list of things, and then you're like, well, this didn't turn out, like maybe the recipe was poorly written, or things change. You get a tomato and the one that you got is maybe 2 sizes larger than the one that's actually used in the recipe, right? So there's always a little bit of fluctuation, but it's good to know good sources of recipes. That way when you make it, it's going to turn out well. It's been tested by people who are professionals who have kind of that background and have probably tested it several times before they've hit publish. So that's always what I like to share as well. So any comments, questions on any of that? You're welcome. I am happy to. Yeah,
All you tomatoes, I think it's weird. I don't buy tomatoes, I would never do a tomato in my life.
Okay.
So what is the difference in a vine ripe tomato versus
Uh-huh. Yes.
another tomato you can buy at H-E-B?
That is a great question.
I don't know how to pick out tomatoes. When I have to get a tomato, I say to some lady next to me, excuse me, here's a tomato. And she tells me yes or no.
Awesome. I love that. That is a great question. So a vine ripe tomato, if you go to the store, you'll probably see in a regular grocery store, probably 3 different types of tomatoes, right? You'll see kind of those kind of more oval, longer looking ones. That's a Roma tomato. Those are kind of your everyday. I will say grocery store tomatoes aren't my favorites because they don't have flavor, because they've been shipped across, they've been carted, like they're for regular consumption, but they don't have, if you were to compare it to a tomato that you grew, that probably has way more flavor than the ones you'll find in the store. But in a pinch, a Roma tomato is kind of your standard every day. And then you might see next to it something called the vine ripe, and they have that beautiful little green vine, right? They're still attached to it. That's what I'm talking about. Because for me, those have a little more, I don't know, for me, they have a little more like heft to them. They have a little more flavor if you pick them right. So how do you pick it? Well, it depends. If you want to use them right away, I would go for ones that have great deep red color, that have some firmness but aren't too soft, because then they're way past and you may as well just make a sauce with them, which is okay. And then, smell them. Like, that's one of those things. If it smells like a tomato, then chances are you probably got a good one. And then you'll see beefsteak tomatoes. And those are those giant, enormous ones that people like to use like slices on their hamburger, right? Like, same thing, I would say. Like any tomato, just make sure it's got some red color to it. You'll see some pale ones out there and they're super hard. They're like baseballs. Like, don't take that unless you're not planning to cook with it right away, and you can keep it on your counter, put it by your bananas and your onions, and it'll continue to ripen. But it still won't have the same taste as if you were to grow your own tomatoes, or if you happen to have farmers markets that you can get beautiful tomatoes from. Right now, I have some friends back in Seattle who are posting pictures of all the farmers markets they're going to, and I'm so jealous because we don't have a lot of that here. But the variety of the tomatoes, I would love to just grow my own, but I haven't quite found the right season, because typically I would think like summer, but here it's too hot. It's too hot. So I haven't quite worked that out yet. I've grown a couple, but mostly I stick to like the little cherry tomatoes, and that seems to be okay. So yeah, that is the difference between our tomatoes. Hopefully that answered the question?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Okay, I'm gonna just test this really quick. Let me grab a spoon. Sorry, off camera for a moment. But I'm pretty sure our cauliflower is cooked. And it's super hot. It has thickened up a bit. I just want to taste it.
And your coconut milk that you used, that was just because it was thick? Did you use cream?
No cream.
No
Yeah, no, I was saying,
No, could you substitute
You could totally use cream. This coconut milk, oh, sorry, I put the can in the trash already. It is the full fat one, and that's what I would recommend. But they also sell like a light, because, coconut milk has fat in it. And if you're watching your calories and all that, you could substitute. This original recipe that I started with actually used cashew cream. So if you soaked your raw cashews in water and then blended it, you could kind of make a cream sauce, a non-dairy cream sauce with that. If you could do dairy, another thing is Greek yogurt. Just plain Greek yogurt makes this even more amazing because it thickens it up. And typical masala, I think, probably has cream in it, which is why I love it, but it also does not love me. So cream I still can't do. That tastes pretty good. Maybe a little more pinch of salt because I was eyeballing it. Okay. Actually, do that. All right, so Rosie, I'm going to have my lovely assistant Rosie dish out. This looks pretty good. And I think we are at the end of our, look at that, 1 minute to spare. How awesome is that? So any final thoughts, questions as we get samples around? Those folks at home, it smells delicious. It looks amazing. Hope you get to try it. Any final thoughts, folks? Okay, well, thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.